session. Okay, sweet. Um, so yeah, it's definitely very doable to live on the stipend. And if anything, it taught me a lot of great lessons on making a budget. And I highly would suggest you have a budget because I never had a budget before this service year. Super helpful though. So, the first thing I want to cover is relocation costs. So, estimated post tax relocation reimbursement is about $330, give or take. Um, This, I think, doesn't come in until your first paycheck, though, and it will be added to your first paycheck. And so it's just really important with the relocation to budget that you're going to have a lot of like heavy hits when you first move to Denver, and then things will start to smooth out and you'll start to get paid. But something to consider is like a security deposit, depending on when you move out here, random incidentals like command strips if you want to make your apartment stylish, and like garbage bags, cleaning supplies, just those random things that you forget you need to like stock up initially with. That first grocery trip, just considering your food benefits typically don't arrive until like mid to late August. And then furniture, that was the biggest one for me. It adds up quickly, and so you have to be really careful about where you buy. I bought almost everything from Facebook Marketplace. Super great because there is a lot of turnover in Denver. So I got some almost new furniture for really cheap. Also, the Habitat for Humanity Restore is great. I know a lot of people got their couches and beds there. Goodwill is awesome. It's definitely hit or miss, but they change like their stock and what their inventory almost every day, it seems like. So hitting up those locations. And then IKEA and Target is great. Obviously, that stuff is new, so it might be a little more expensive, but depending on how you're splitting up furniture with roommates, it could still be affordable. And then I've never used Nextdoor, but one of my good friends on my team was like very avid about Nextdoor. And it's just like a social media app, it sounds like, for with your neighbors and buying furniture from neighbors and also just getting to know your neighborhood better. So I would suggest checking that out. But yeah, relocation costs is definitely the priciest part of your transition to Denver. And then you can start to actually make a budget and figure everything out, I think. So housing, I'm going to talk about this more at the end when I show some sample budgets, but it varies a lot. Brenna did some number calculations, and last year the average was 650 to 750. It obviously depends on your neighborhood. It depends on how many roommates you have, and just like what deals you were able to find. Overall, utilities for me were about $20 a month. I had water included. I also had heat included. And $20 a month was total. So I was only spending like 10 to $15 when I was splitting it with my one other roommate, which was awesome. And then internet, I'll talk about on the next slide, but you shouldn't be paying $70 a month for internet, because there's this really awesome thing called Internet Essentials that cuts down the cost when you get that EBT card. But housing will be by far probably the biggest chunk out of your stipend. So just making sure every month you set aside money to pay that rent. Really important. So internet, this is what I was talking about. And later I'm going to drop all these links. Make sure you guys do it because I know a lot of people in City Year in my core didn't take advantage of it. But it's $10 a month through Xfinity, and you can qualify once you receive that EBT card. I moved to Denver pretty much like the day before my registration. And so to get by with like the virtual BTA or basic training academy, I was doing like a weekly Wi-Fi pass, or I used my phone's hotspot, or I bummed at like a coffee shop or other Citier members. Otherwise, you can definitely get Wi-Fi through Xfinity and pay that full price until you qualify to get the low income price in, like I said, around mid August. That's when I got my EBT card. That's your food stamps debit card, basically, if you're wondering what I'm talking about. And then it's only $10 a month. So splitting with my one roommate, I was spending $5 a month on Wi-Fi, which is a steal. So definitely look into that. Saves a lot of money. All right, food. Once again, you'll get SNAP benefits. You don't have to worry about this now. We're going to cover it when we on our registration day, we're gonna have like a own little station for it and make sure you guys get signed up and ready to go. But it's about $235 a month. Can be used at most grocery stores, gas stations. Like I was able to use it at Trader Joe's, and it carries over each month and doesn't expire. And you just use it like a regular debit card. So you'll have a 4 number PIN, and you can just check out at any grocery store line and use it on whatever, except for like you can't get like hot items, so like a hot rotisserie chicken. But you can get like frozen meals and you can get like a cold chicken wrap. So it's kind of weird like that. But and you have to reply after 6 months. So I remember what I did is I'm big at setting reminders on my phone. And I set a reminder on my phone in like early December telling me that I have to reapply online because I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss out on any benefits. And so I was able to get my benefits through the end of December and right away get them starting in January. Whereas I had teammates that missed out on January and didn't get them till like early February. And while they got the additional 235 from the previous month added on, they were kind of struggling for a few weeks there because they forgot to reapply in time. So that's definitely a tip I would do is just making sure you remember to reapply after 6 months. And if you forget, they're going to send you a bunch of stuff in the mail. So you'll eventually remember, or you'll remember when it's $0 on there. Gym, this I just put on there because I know I cared a lot about it and some of my other teammates did. Some people didn't care at all. Like a private gym would cost about 100 a month, but there's also like Peloton app for 13 a month, which a lot of people use for like the outdoor running and everything and like outdoor workouts and boot camps. Um, and then there's also like Planet Fitness, Anytime Fitness, a lot of other gyms like that. You can get as low as $10 a month. And those are like 24/7 gyms. And when in doubt, like Denver is great for running, hiking, plenty of exercise where you don't need a membership and you can just like pull up a YouTube video or something. But I thought I'd put that on there because when I moved out there, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't get my free gym with college anymore. And I kind of forgot about that. Uniform, pretty much all you need is black pants and black shoes. And if you already have them, you're good to go. But like you'll get plenty of like polo shirts, button downs, sweaters, jackets, the backpack. Everything's going to be provided by City Year, free of cost. Black pants, I got like basic black joggers from like Target and like the athletic section, but they look like nice dress slacks. So they work great. They're like 20 bucks. And then shoes, almost everyone on my team wore black Vans, which we didn't plan that, but they're like cute shoes outside of service and they're like $40. So we all just ended up getting Vans and they work great. I think Vans should sponsor City Year. That's how many people wore them. All right. And then I want to put stuff to do in Denver because I know moving to an awesome city like Denver, you want to experience as much as possible, but also you're on a stipend. So it's kind of like that balance of like living it up and like being smart with your money. Awesome thing though in Denver is there's a lot of free things to do. So like there's parks and walking trails. The parks are filled almost every weekday night with people playing like volleyball and spike ball. It's super fun. City Park has jazz, usually on Sundays, but I think other days of the week in the summer and fall. Super fun. There's food vendors. It's huge. Great place to chill, free entertainment. I also plugged Mercury Cafe. It's like, oh, I think it's an uptown neighborhood. Yeah, okay. Brenda's nodding. But I went there a few times because they have like $10 comedy shows and I love live comedy. And they have like jazz bands, and it's just like a really cool hole in the wall place. And they even have like tango dancing lessons. Like they just are like a really weird all-in-one venue. It's awesome though. But then also like checking out movie deals at like AMC theaters at Cherry Creek, and then also Marcus Theaters has deals. Volo Sports, I just did like a kickball league, and that was really fun to meet people outside of City Year because a lot of young people in Denver are doing like all those random leagues, and a lot of them are just for fun. Something my core did was City Year Sports, and we just made a group me with like all the City Years. And we just said like Mondays at 5 p.m. we meet at Sloan's Lake Park and we do a different sport every time. So like we did frisbee, soccer, volleyball. And that was awesome because that's how I met a lot of the people in my core, especially during COVID, which it was like harder to like get together with people. So that was a cool like thing we did on our own. And then with the EBT card, it's awesome because you get discounted admissions, like $1 to go to the Botanic Gardens, $1 to go to like all the museums, dollar to go to the zoo, discounts on like the YMCA pass if you were thinking about that. And I put the link in there for other things, but they have like half off Amazon Prime and discounts on like the Lyft scooters, which are huge in Denver and so fun. So you got to take the scooters. But yeah, definitely look into the EBT card because you can get a lot of awesome discounts. And I don't think that many people took advantage of that. Finally, I put like stuff to do in the mountains slash travel. This is super variable, but I just want to put it out there because like I think a lot of people think of skiing in Colorado, but it's also very expensive. So I wouldn't do it unless you're like passionate about skiing or like you can afford to like budget out buying one of the passes and like renting or getting your own gear. Annual rentals are like 180, which is relatively cheap to buying all new gear. And the passes you can get at a good discount, but once again, depends on if you're only going 5 times, maybe not worth it. I went a lot, so it was worth it for me. Gas money, if you are going to the mountains a lot, make sure you're budgeting for that. Carpool as much as possible though, and don't be stingy requesting friends for gas money because I know a lot of times you're like, oh, I'll even out, but then you'll end up being the one driving every time. So you got to make sure you're staying on top of that. If you want to travel home or travel to friends or you have weddings, just remember to budget that in because I know sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm saving a lot of money this month. But then the following month is Christmas and I have to buy gifts and I want to go home. So you just have to like kind of plan ahead in that sense. Finally, hiking and camping is free. That's the best part about Denver. Um, like dispersed camping, you can go to any state park, no reservation needed. You can always just look online for like the best dispersed camping in this state park, and you can find like good roads to go off of. And the All Trails app is king. It's amazing. So yeah, that's awesome free entertainment. It's like my favorite part of living in Denver. All right. And then I put my sample budget. I also have a sample budget from Cam, who I served with last year, and then he'll be a service leader this year. We got about $585 post tax biweekly. You guys are going to get like $685. So you'll get about an extra $200 a month, which is awesome. Pretty jealous of that. Um, but like you can see the difference between mine and Cam's budget. Like I lived in Lohi, which is an awesome neighborhood, but it's so overpriced and stupid expensive. But I also was like walking distance to my high school. So that was awesome for me. But I paid like 800 a month, utilities and internet 25, maybe more like 15 some months, it kind of depended. Gas 60-ish if I considered like I was paying, like 15 a week if I was splitting with my roommate. Once again, a big reason for that is like being able to like walk or bike to school though. So it depends on your commute to your school you're going to. Groceries about 200, but that was covered by my EBT card pretty easily. Gym, I initially was paying $100 because if I didn't do group fitness, I just knew I wasn't going to work out and that was important to me. Eventually, I started working at that gym to get a free membership. So that was awesome because that saved me a lot of money. And then miscellaneous and fun, like $185. And if I needed more than that, I did sell plasma at BPL Plasma. And that was just more my choice. If I was like, all right, I want to get an Airbnb in the mountains for a ski trip, I need more like cash. So that was definitely just like on my own time. I understood my spending habits and whether I needed more money. But luckily, I also didn't have to pay for my phone or like my renters or car insurance. So that's something I didn't have to consider in my budget. But luckily for you guys, you will get an extra 200 months. That will kind of help offset that too. And then here's Cam's budget, and he lived in the duplex, which Jojo you might have heard of, or you'll hear about the duplex. It's gonna be all city years in there. It's just a duplex that like 12 people in City live in every year, and it's absurd. But um, so his rent was like $500. Clearly didn't do the internet deal because he was spending $50 on internet and utilities. So that was his bad. Gas like 40, about the same for groceries. He was paying off student loans for 100, which if you do have student loans, AmeriCorps does have loan forbearance. And so on my AmeriCorps, you can always create the forbearance request. It's on like the left-hand side. So make sure you do that. But maybe he was just trying to like get him out of the way. I'm not sure. And then he had like $50 for miscellaneous and fun, and he was paying about 120 for phone and insurance. And then Brenna made this morning, a little more detailed, but it's awesome because it's considering about how much you guys will be taking home. And like a rent of about 700, right in the middle of like the average rent people are paying, like that $10 with the internet essentials, cell phone bill. And yeah, like groceries, 200 is pretty standard. I never felt like I felt like a lot of times I was carrying money over each month and I was like, I don't know what to do with this, but it's great because it never expires. So it's totally fine. And yeah, another thing is toiletries. I would always forget, like, man, I need new shampoo. And you just don't want to spend money on shampoo, but something you got to do. You want to look good for the kiddos, you know? That's everything. So Jojo, do you have any questions for me or Brenna? You got both of us here now.
And
Calendar.
I was just gonna say, before you jump in, we can answer Clyde's question, and it's that August 6th is your first pay date.
Okay.
I just wanted to get that on the recording before you stopped it. So your first paycheck, I posted the file in Slack a while ago, so you can probably search for it, but I can try to send it again, or we'll include it in the list of links. But you'll work your first week, July 26th to that Friday. You'll submit those hours, so then they'll get processed and you'll get your first paycheck August 6th. But it'll only be for that first week where you only worked 1 week and not 2. And then every following 2 weeks, you'll get your 2-week paycheck, if that makes sense.
Got it.
And then that relocation reimbursement comes in the first or second. It just depends how quickly our headquarters team can process those. So we can't always predict it. Hopefully it's in the first one, but if it's not, it'll be in the second one.
Got it.
Cool. I just wanted to get that in, but you can stop the recording if you want.
Okay, I was just gonna ask that.